If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available as podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
We are the wind in the sails of your business. We are your compass. Chart your course towards your targets. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
That's cool on the beat.
Sometimes I'm having conversations with my friends who are not in Africa, right? Some of them in the West and all of that, doing their things and going on with life, right? And they say, "Oh, Tommy, what's it like? I want to come to Africa, and start something, or come to Nigeria and start something. What do you think I should do?" I'm like, bro, I understand that you have the masters, you have the street knowledge of New York, but doing business in Lagos or in Africa is like the wild, wild west, man. You're like, okay. For example, you've done all the jobs and everything, you sent it over to the client, and then you now have to do an extra job of getting your money. It's just the reality happening here. And guys, it's the African Millennial Radio Show again, and it's Tommy Wale. And this episode is actually going to be some sort of a no-holds-barred talk. So I think you should really, really plug your ears tight. And I'm sure many guys in South Africa, in Ghana, in Egypt, in what other country do we have, in Mali, would relate to what we're going to talk about here. So, quick recap. So far, we've had consultants or people in business, right, coming to talk about brand positioning, the essence of data, corporate culture, corporate governance, business structure, and then strategy also. And we've had all of that. Very insightful sessions. You can go on africabusinessradio.com or check the African Millennials, right, on Google, on Apple Podcast, and on Spotify to listen to those editions. Now, I have someone in the studio today who is actually, doing business, right, as an African millennial. So let me tell you a bit about her. Jumoke Shotonwa is a multi-influential woman who is passionate about being the better version of herself. She is the founder of Kwasee Style Company, which was recently nominated for an award by La Mode magazine as the fashion stylist brand of the year, and has also been recognized as one of the top 5 bridal stylists in Nigeria. She's also the co-founder of the Lagos Wardrobe and Exhibition, that's TLWE. I'll have called it TLWE, but then TLWE, TLWE, right? A platform to promote the up and coming fashion creatives in Africa. Hi Jumoke, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Sorry, first of all, how long have you been doing this? Off the top of my head, I'll think 5 years, but then it could be more than that. So,
I've been doing this for close to 7 years now.
Close to 7 years.
Yeah.
Now, people around me know that if you've not been in business for at least 5 years, I would not really want to have a conversation with you about doing entrepreneurship in Nigeria. I'm not trying to be condescending or anything, but then there are some lessons I really want to learn. I don't want the PowerPoint things like the book you just read. I want to listen to what you experienced on that day, right? And then that's why we have Jumoke. And then she said 6 years, so I think she's had quite an interesting experience doing business with Nigerians, doing business in Nigeria, going through the whole government thing. I mean, Jumoke, how now?
I'm good.
I mean, how's it going?
Well,
Getting here today
was a hassle, over 2 hours, 30 minutes.
Can you imagine?
Traffic, police, everything, Nigeria.
Just to transport yourself over a journey that would have taken you less than 30 minutes.
I mean,
that's another one. Then you get there, you still have to be your best. Because of course, you can't just say, there's traffic, let me calm down. You have to give that presentation.
Yeah, 100%.
We are not lazy.
No, we're definitely not lazy Nigerian youth.
You are a stylist, right?
Yeah.
Fashion style, yeah. I guess that right. LOL. Of course I know that. And so that means you're a creative consultant.
Yeah.
Basically. In your industry, right, let's just go straight into this, guys, right? Can you talk about the growth you have seen in the industry you're currently playing so far? Say about 10 years now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fashion industry in Nigeria, has really grown exponentially. I came into the industry over close to 7 years now, and the growth has been so massive. Nigeria now plays in the international space. Nigerians are basically fashion conscious, right? And it has put the Nigeria on the map. Lagos especially, Lagos is a very fashionable state in Nigeria, and the fashion shows, I feel like the fashion shows in Nigeria actually helped put Nigeria on the global space. It has helped grow the industry. I mean, you can see Lagos Fashion Week, we can see GT Bank, involving international designers. Yeah. It has actually really helped, put Nigeria in that space. We now have the size of the industry has grown, the sophistication. Lagos is one of the fashion cities in the world. You talk about Paris, talk about New York, talk about London. You definitely mention Lagos because we've actually grown to the point where we can be recognized. Now, you hear things like Buy Nigeria, the designers have stepped up their game. They can rub shoulders with international designers. The quality of work, the creative output has been amazing. It has really grown. I understand that. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in Nigeria, when it comes to running a business here. But I mean, the passion in Nigeria fashion industry has helped grow the industry so much. I know that Nigeria fashion is actually really helping, contributing to the economic growth in Nigeria. Absolutely. People are buying and selling outfits, fashion, clothes, shoes. So it has really grown. I've seen the growth, the people. I mean, we have lots of people now who are interested in fashion. 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, you won't really find a lot of people who are interested in fashion, but the industry has really grown so much. It's attractive now, and a lot of young people are willing to come into the industry to play their part, Yeah, so it's grown, and I'm proud of it.
Man is going to remove my neck for this one. It's always funny to me, and I always share it. I'm sorry in advance, right? There was this lady said, I'm a fashion person, and I asked her who is Deola Sigo, and said she doesn't know. What? Anywho, that will show how attractive it is, right? Because everybody, wants to get into it. I'm sorry, Manuel. I'm sorry, but then it's just a very, very hot joke. I like what you said about Lagos being. You said what about that, Abby? You can still it just shows how attractive it is.
And the thing is, so one thing about that is a lot of young people who want to do fashion, who are coming to the industry, are not really settling down. They don't want to make the money. They think it's about the glamour. They see the magazines, they see the fashion shows, they see the runways, and they feel like that's everything to it. There's more to it. Do your homework. Serve, learn, intern. Know what the industry is about.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah.
There's space for it. Let us burn people down this wonderful, cool Friday evening in the coastal city of Lagos. Now, you said something about Lagos and then New York, Paris and everything.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to talk about it in Nigeria, Africa is Lagos. I always say this thing. So the way I see it is, whatever you do in Lagos is what Nigeria wants to talk about. Whatever you do in Nigeria is what Africa wants to talk about.
Yeah.
So that same way, whatever you're doing, London or Paris is what Europe wants to talk about. Whatever you're doing, Chicago or New York especially is what Northern America wants to talk about, and Beijing, Asia, etc. That means that whatsoever you do in Lagos puts you almost on the same pedestal as what those other cities are, right? And I mean, I have one of the top stylists in the studio today. Hey, I'm with the celebrity. I mean, that's really good. I like the observation you made, and I hope people are now going to start seeing things from that angle and then, step up their game, especially when it comes to excellence. Now, about excellence, you have consulted for many people. I remember about years ago, I think you styled someone on Ebony, and that was like, okay, this person is obviously doing something. And then that went on and on and on. And today you have your company. It's not just Jumoke being the consultant to someone, it is the company being the consultant to someone. So you have transitioned from the person who was learning, the person who now did it to a name, and the person who's now doing it as a company. In all of that, obviously there were times where I'm sure you got tired, right? And then you just continue to cry.
Several times.
What really made you keep your head down to focus on your work?
So for me, it's basically about the big picture, the vision that I have, what I see. I know that fashion is actually going to be like I said, we're growing, and fashion is actually going to be a major player in the world. The earlier people begin to realize that, the better for us, right? And the vision that I see is what has made me, put my head down, stay consistent, build. I'm all about building something that will last. I realize that, and especially because we're in Africa, you hear things like African businesses don't outlive the owners. African businesses don't do beyond a particular amount of years, And what I see, I want to build a business that will last decades, that will live beyond me, that will make impact, And that's one of the reasons why we started our enterprise called the Lagos Wardrobe and Exhibition, because what we are seeing is huge. Want to make impact, give opportunities and a platform for young people, young creatives to showcase their work, to play on a level playing ground, if I can call it that way, So for me, number one, what I see, my vision is huge, contributing to the fashion industry. It's something I'm really passionate about, helping young people. I'm passionate about young entrepreneurs, young creative entrepreneurs, and that's one thing that has really kept me going, to keep building, yeah. Okay,
now you said something about the young creative entrepreneurs, right? I want to throw in something about the opportunities you see, right? But then I'm going to come from the point of the creative young entrepreneurs. When I started this year, something that I usually say is we really don't know what this decade was going to bring. I didn't know COVID was also going to come, but that's a negative one. But then the things that this decade was going to bring, I was talking about the advancement of technology, the way they call them Gen Z now, right?
Yeah.
The way they think, right? The things that they could create, right? What the world would be doing by 2025, for example. Things are moving very fast, so whatever we thought would happen in 3 years could actually happen in 3 months. So we don't know what 2025 is going to hold, right? And then you're talking about the young creative entrepreneurs. What opportunities do you see for these guys, right? Using this environment as a reference, right? And also the drive that they have. Right, and how, what opportunities do you see for them? Don't let me add more to
young creative. You mean environment? You mean Nigeria? Or you mean the fashion industry?
In the fashion industry, from this environment, and also using the energies that they have, what opportunities do you see for them?
Okay, so there are a lot. I just recently concluded my course with London College of Fashion, and I realized that there are a lot of opportunities in the fashion industry. But because what is more prominent or most prominent is the fashion design, a lot of young people just put their energies to fashion designing. There are other opportunities. Right now, I know that we don't really have the fashion education in Nigeria is actually really not so good. The curriculum,
it's not well structured.
It's not well structured, exactly. We don't make fabric in Nigeria. We don't really have that structure. We don't have accessory designers in Nigeria. There are lots of opportunities in the fashion. I mean, there are over 120 different. Wow. I mean, there is the fashion media communicator. There are different opportunities I see, and because these Gen Zs or these Gen Zers are very passionate, they are energetic. I believe that if they pattern, maybe calm down, do their research, go deep down, not just about the glamour, not just about the money, but because if they are really interested and passionate about fashion and the industry, I believe that there are a lot of opportunities for them. In Nigeria, in the fashion creative space in Nigeria, I
mean, that I could hear so many things in what you were saying, right? And I could understand why maybe you could even learn some things, because it's a lot in your head based on what you've studied. You said you just finished your study now. I was reading an article. I follow Business of Fashion on Twitter, so I'm always looking forward to, what's the new thing. And they were highlighting the new jobs in it, and they highlighted about 20 things or so. Like, that's from this year, right? That they could highlight. In fact, this thing about if you want to sketch out, a dress or something, now you have to have a skill of putting it in 3D, right, yourself. That is something also. And talk about the communication part of it.
Exactly.
So many things. So you don't have to be the one to design it. Exactly. You could just be the one to know how to get the best lighting, right, for the runway, for whatsoever.
Exactly.
So
you can be you can be a model booker. There are different opportunities in the fashion space. There are lots of opportunities in the fashion space in Nigeria.
So now, with these opportunities, of course, challenges are, right. I get in talks with people also who want to come start, and I'm like, you know what? We don't have structures here. Right. But what we have is an environment that is raised like a big field, no houses, nothing yet. And then you have to get to digging, right? Lay your foundations, and the guys that get to digging are not particularly touche and everything, they are dirty. So you have to do the dirty work. Then you now start, planting your building and then taking it as high as you want to. Right. So that's the opportunity here. But then there are the challenges, right, that you have to face. So far with you, what challenges have you faced as a business person in this? And how are you scaling these things every day? Right. Even if, you're in one China and you're scaling, please let us know, right? Because I'm sure I'm really enjoying this conversation, right? It's so educating to me, right? To see that there are more things in fashion. If I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to talk from the standpoint of a brand consultant. But then listening to you, I mean, I want to learn, what are these challenges you see in this environment? It could be taxation. Someone will point at you. That's fine.
Okay, so, we all know that in Nigeria, infrastructure is a major problem for us. We don't have the right infrastructure. Your own government in Nigeria. Designers are trying to make sure that they have petrol for or diesel for their gen. They have to go to the market to buy fabric. Importation is a problem. Even to get the right staff. Because to be honest, for me, exactly, human resource, talent. For me, that's one of the major challenges I've had in my business. Lots of young people nowadays, like I said, they are very passionate, yes, but they're not trying to they're not willing to channel that passion into something productive. They're just here today, they want to do this thing, make the money, move to the next thing. They're not ready to calm down. Human resource, infrastructure, talent, sometimes funding, it's quite difficult. But for me, I would not say funding is a major challenge. I believe that you can actually start whatever you want to start, and then fundings will come after. But most times, because people are not really visionary, or they're not willing to put in the work, they feel like, I don't have the money, I can't start. Really, you can actually start with what you have. So yeah.
So sorry, Jumoke. What you have? What's that thing you have? Can you just maybe tell us? Maybe some people don't even have those things. So maybe they could use their little change to buy those things. Even like a laptop or a sewing machine or Instagram, feeding themselves with Instagram, downloading PDFs and reading. So what?
Well, okay. So first of all, if you're about to start and you feel like, I don't have anything, you have a friend or a brother or a sister or a mom or an aunt, right? Number one. Number two, you have people around you. You can ask, okay, who has a sewing machine? Who has a what's it called? A shop or a
tiny space that you can just sit on.
Exactly. They actually even have this space, right? There are some people who have started, they feel like, I don't have my own industrial machine, I can't even go further. There are people who have this equipment, can you go to that? Can you find them, locate them, do your homework, research? Can I come to your studio 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, use your machine? Do I have to pay? Learn. There are different opportunities and resources that we have. But most time, people are not willing to even start and try. They can buy data, but they'll be going on Instablog Ninja, and all of that, So I feel like there are a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. You can start what you have, but there's also challenges, like I said earlier, the infrastructure, the human resources, sometimes funding. Basically, you're trying to import, you can import, you're trying to...
So, I'm really interested in this thing you're saying. So, let me chip in something. Did you have online resources you used to when you started? Right. So maybe blogs you read and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, you did that. I'm not going to ask you to talk about it. Guys, she's Jumoke.Shotonwa, right? On Instagram. Bombard her with questions in her DMs, right? Beg her to send you or ask her to send you, some resources, right, that you can read from. Because I believe that sometimes in reading some materials or even watching some, some series on Netflix, right? Like the story about Gianni Versace, really, really touching. I just don't like the other side of it, the dark side. That was the dude that eliminated him. But then shot him, assassinated him. But then there are so many materials like abstracts, for example. Reading the story of Tink, that's the guy that designed the Air Force. Really, really insightful. So if you have materials like that, I don't mind. I'm sure you might get a couple of DMs from people now to say, okay, please can you just tell us little things that we can have to start out. Before we continue on this, let's have a short break and then we'll be back for the last leg of this wonderful conversation. See you in a bit, guys.
You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available as podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
We are the wind in the sails of your business. We are your compass. Chart your course towards your targets. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
That's cool on the beat.
Jumoke, I'm sure December 31st, everybody was rising what 2020 was going to be like. But then we omitted something. Well, we didn't see it coming. We heard the news that was coming from, there was this thing that was having a world tour that started in one community in China. Right? And it was like, even when artists do world tours, they don't come to Africa. Right? But then this one, this one came to have a ball with us. Now, things are getting back gradually. Right? The COVID thing, that's the artist that was in the world tour. I think hopefully we are getting used to how we can dance to its music, right? Because we didn't understand what genre of song it was bringing to our shows. Now, as a businesswoman, let the Jamaicans get angry with you. Now, as a businesswoman, right? How are you getting back into business, right? Into everything you're doing?
Okay. The whole pandemic actually cost me, I'm sure most of us, a lot of us, to, sit back, relax, think, look inwards. A lot of times, a lot of us have been trying to get validation from international spaces, everybody has been up on the go, doing shoots, fashion shows, creating designs, styling, doing a lot of things. And the pandemic, I feel like, just caused us to, okay guys, just take a pause, relax, look within, and just forced us to actually look within, because things are not, I feel like things may go back to normal, but not as they were. So we are forced to innovate, we are forced to create, we are forced to use digitization. So for me, I had to look within for my business. I had to come up with creative things to do. I started doing online consultations. I mean, a lot of designers are used to people walking to their stores, their showrooms for consultations, for fittings. A lot of people have been forced to utilize technology, So for me, it forced me to go back to my team, sat down, what can we do differently? We came up with packages to help people in this season, came up with online consultations for brides to be. So really and truly, that really helped us, to recalibrate, to think again, look within, think of things that we can do instead of looking externally and looking at the community in general as well.
I mean, well done. I mean, I can imagine some people, I just hope people are finding ways to bounce back, right? When we had Nanke Isen, on the show, she talked about this might be an opportunity to create a platform of expression that the younger generation can express themselves on in your organization, because they are Jews, they are the ones in time right now, and then their Jews can actually be the things that would open up the innovation you really need, or bring the innovation you really need in this time. So now that you're saying this, right, I heard you saying things like, instead of the physical consultations and everything, now to start finding ways to creatively engage your clients, potential clients,
and
online.
I make sure you give them an experience as well, because that's one thing.
An experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
That lady that did that runway thing, that 3D runway thing, for example.
Anifa, oh my God, I was listening to her recently, and she was saying that she's been playing with the digital space, prior to the pandemic, right? So she's been playing with technology and all of that. And when she introduced the first 3D stuff, she was just testing, just to see what the market will be. And that's one thing about this season, or this post-pandemic, right? A lot of us have to think about, what do our customers really want? Think about the people. I realized that for me, what I also did during the pandemic was to keep putting my stuff out there. So when it's over, people remember you, your customers remember you, your clients will remember that you're still there, and you're not out of business, So she was testing it, she put it out there, she saw the comments, they were good, then she did the fashion show as well to make sure, so yeah.
So I remember some guys, Black Americans are very, very interesting people. One guy quoted her tweet and said, "Let's have this in record that a Black American did this first." Before it just becomes something that we are now discovering in history later, that it was a Black American that did it. Okay, so there's an attention on Africa, of course. Everybody wants to promote Africa now. Some people say, some people are doing it for their pockets, right? Some people are saying, no, they're not doing it for their pocket. They're actually opening up, opportunities for us to get into the global rooms and, whatever I see it. I want to see it from the point of the cup being half full. So it's an opportunity for us, right? We can be in the rooms with the global media stakeholders and then negotiate with them. Also has to do with styling, right? Elizabeth Carter is someone I really like. Right? I mean, that woman is, this one, she really went through the ranks, and she's that broad, right? Especially styling many of the most successful Black American movies in Hollywood. Now, she said that there were no references to a lot of African attires in Hollywood, so she had to come up with so many things for Black Panther. But then I was thinking that, what if she just checked Instagram, checked like she should have seen a lot of people know. But Beyonce did that. Right, and Orange Culture, Bio was here some time ago, and then glad that the attention is getting to the stylist also, not just the music. Now, what are the things you think stylists or creative consultants in Africa, what things do you think they should have in mind when negotiating in global rooms today?
Okay. So this is one of my, I love this question. It's a very good question. One of the things that we need to, negotiate when we're talking about when we're in the global rooms is we need to begin to tell our stories. I realize that in Africa, we've not been able to tell our stories appropriately. They tell it for us, and they really cannot tell our stories like we would tell our stories, So when we are in global, if you notice, we don't really have lots of black media that can tell our African story, our heritage, our culture, our way of life, our food, our environment, So when we are in these global rooms, we need to be able to negotiate telling our own story. And I believe that, I read different things about Beyonce and Irina Zerina, that's her stylist, how she didn't do justice to telling the African story appropriately. Some people said that, it was good. Some said it wasn't really good. It was not really African. It was more of blacks, not African, So there's been a lot of controversy here and there about it. But I believe that when we are in those global rooms negotiating our way, we should be able to tell our stories, showcase our culture, showcase our fabrics. Most times when you talk about African fashion globally, abroad, people think it's Ankara, is print. That is really not African. Print is actually Dutch. It's from Holland. It's not really Nigerian or African as it were. We have the Ashoke, we have the Adire. That is African.
Like my cup.
Exactly, like your cup, So when we're in those rooms, we need to be able to negotiate telling our stories, our culture, our heritage, our people, our experiences, because if we don't, nobody will do that for us, and they will not tell it appropriately.
That's going to be our selling point. That, okay, do you want to tell my story more than I do?
Exactly.
Hello, so pay me 60% of everything.
Exactly.
That's very nice. I never thought about that one. Seriously, we're telling stories on the African Millennial Radio Show.
Nice.
We can negotiate too with the callers. If they come here and say, Jumoke came here, and I can tell you that what you're trying to say about our story. Don't call her up, and then she'll give the best story. I said Ruth Carter, not Elizabeth Carter. I don't know where I got that from. Her name is Ruth Carter, Ruth Carter, the stylist of Black Panther. Anyways, Jumoke, thank you very much for coming on the African Millennial Radio Show. I really enjoyed this conversation. You opened, I'm sure you opened the listeners and even me myself
I
too.
wish we could go on and on and on.
The person who is doing the work, right? Not just someone is going to come drop theories. We don't even have any of that on this edition at all.
Yeah.
Emmanuel and Michael are doing a very good job with that, And then my producer, Mickey, could have been here, but then is my producer Mickey, but then Onoja is doing that job for me. Alright guys, thank you once again for being on the African Millennial Radio Show. Don't forget to talk to Jumoke on Instagram and Twitter. Okay, Instagram for us is jumoke.shotonwa. And then what's the business handle on Instagram?
Kwasee.
How do you spell that?
Official. KWASEE.official.
Right guys, you got that down right on Instagram. So but if you check Jumoke Shotonwa on Instagram, you can always find, the handle. Patronize her. She's going to do a very, very excellent consultancy services and a good job too. Alright guys, have a very, very wonderful weekend, and don't forget to please stay safe. Wash your hands. Wash them. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available as podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa. You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available as podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa. You're listening to Africa